Good morning, viewers and listeners. We are live, and welcome to the NFL Draft Bible Tailgate Show, partnered with Fan Nation, powered by Sports Illustrated. I am here with my esteemed panel, dripping with talent. As of course, I am your host, Big Law Lawrence Johnson. I am also here with my man, senior scout, Lorenz Lineweaver. And I got my man, Alec Polito, head scout here as well. We have Kellen Gerenstein, and of course, Hunter Pitkoff. How are you guys doing this morning? I'll start with you, Lorenz.
I'm doing great. I'm doing outstanding. We got a big game, big Big Ten matchup today, which we're gonna get into. We're gonna get into quick, but it's another fun week of college football. I've been a little sick this week, so I'm really looking forward to just getting to lay around, watch a couple of games, and it's gonna be fun. So I can't wait. How are you today, Big Law?
I'm doing pretty good, guys, and he is known as the twin. So now let me get back to my other guy over here. His name is Alex Slick Polito. What's going on, my man, Slick Polito? He's a scouting coordinator here.
What's going on, Big Law? I'm excited to talk about this game. We've got. I think I know who Kellen's rooting for in this one, the big one at the top of the hour here, but I'm not 100% sure, so we'll get into that. But I'm excited to talk about a good slate of games today overall, and it's gonna get more exciting now. We got the conferences coming to an end, and then we'll have conference championships, and it's gonna be exciting.
Absolutely. Conference championships on the way. Also, you got bowl positioning, bowl championship positioning. They've been doing this for the last few weeks where they've been ranking which teams, first, second, third, fourth, whatever, who's going to make the tournament. And that's what all teams are looking forward to. Next person we got here is Kellen. We call him the face, Gerenstein. He's the quarterback of the crew. How you doing today, man?
I'm hanging in there, man. I can never complain when I come on and I get to talk about football. So I'm happy this morning. I'm feeling pretty good.
Awesome. Nice to hear that. And of course, last but not least, we got my man Hunter Wonderboy Pitkoff, who has the more insights than anybody. And I can tell you, we're happy to have him on here. He's a regular now with the NFL Draft Bible. How are you doing today, Hunter?
Oh, man, another week, another disappointing loss Penn State had to endure. Started off 5-0, now they're 6-4, but they're playing Rutgers today at home on senior day. If they lose this one, I got no answers. I think Franklin's got to go.
That's right. Well, and you know what? He may wind up going out west, but we'll talk about that at a later date, But I can tell you, this is a great weekend we have here. Of course, as everything winds down, it's it's kind of bittersweet. It's winding down, and all this great college football that we've seen is coming to an end. But like I said before, we're about to ramp up. We're here to educate you and entertain you, and we're going to start with our helmet stickers for the week. Of course, the helmet stickers are what players we feel did a great job for the games during the weekday. We had about 11 games. It's like the entire half the schedule almost, it seems like, was played from Tuesday to Friday. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right in and come back to you, Kellen. I want you to tell me who gets your helmet sticker for the weekdays games.
I'm going a little bit different this week. I'm going Justin Rogers, quarterback for UNLV. Now, they didn't win the game. The Rebels lost to San Diego State, who is the number 19 team in the country. They're 10-1, but it was 28-20. Rogers was 15 of 21, 305 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. Now, the talent gap, even between two group of 5 teams, UNLV is not a very good football team. And San Diego State, for a Power 5 team, is on the high end of talent and just performance when it comes to those spectrums. So UNLV sticking in that game, Rogers really being the guy to ride that wave, only an 8-point game. They don't get the win, but he gets my helmet sticker.
All right, great helmet sticker there. Now I'm going to come to you, Hunter. Mr. Pitcall, who gets your helmet sticker for the weekdays games?
Yeah, well, I think it was last week. Kellen might have brought up a kicker, so I'll give some love to the fullback community here. Go with Clint Rakovich from Northern Illinois. You've probably never seen him play or Northern Illinois, but trust me, he's a really good player. The game on Wednesday was actually crazy. So they won 33-27 in overtime over Buffalo. Buffalo's kicker made a 55-yard field goal. and then they fumble the ball on the 1 yard line in overtime, and then play right after that. Clint Rakovich runs it in 25 yards for a touchdown, 2 touchdowns on the game. But if you look into it, don't look now, but he has 12 touchdowns on the season, and he's a freak athlete. I'm hearing he might run in the 4.7s, which is really blazing fast for a fullback. Watch out for him. He's low-key one of the best fullbacks in the country, and maybe a draft-eligible guy if a team's willing to take a swing on a guy like him.
Well, you got to watch out for San Francisco. You know, they're always looking for those fullbacks. And Kyle Shanahan, you know, when they have in that system, you know, anybody running that stretch scheme that they love to run, got to have an active fullback with good hands. But, yeah, it's a great call on that, Hunter. Now let me come to my guy, Lorenz. Talk to me, Lorenz. Who gets your helmet sticker for this week's games?
Yeah, Central Michigan, they won. They beat Ball State 31-17. And first of all, I want to say Central Michigan, they've done a great job recruiting and developing. Both their tackles invited to the Senior Bowl, including Bernard Raymond, who is an Austrian who might end up being a day 2. I mean, some people are saying first round. I don't see that, but he's looking likely to be a day 2 pick if he could show out there. So first of all, Central Michigan doing a great job. Actually, we over at the NFLPA Bowl, we invited wide receiver Khalil Pimpleton, who is only 5'7.5" and 162 pounds, but he had another big game, 7 receptions for 144 yards in their win. But I think what's really going to be his calling card is that he's going to be a really, really good punt returner, which is very valuable. NFL teams, they value the punt returner, not as much the kick returner. He's got 2 punt return touchdowns this year, absolutely dynamic with the ball in his hands. I know he's undersized. I can tell you got to be special to get invited to our game. I sit in those scouting meetings. These scouts that don't love undersized players really do not. But if you're as good as Khalil Pimpleton, if you're as dynamic, you deserve that invite. So he's a really exciting player.
Very good pick there as well. And I'm coming to you now, Mr. Polito, Slick Polito. Talk to me. Give me your helmet sticker for the week.
Yeah, absolutely. Staying in the state of Michigan here, we got Skye Moore, the sophomore from Western Michigan. They also lost this game, but he had 12 receptions, 181 yards, and a touchdown. Only a sophomore. Definitely a big-time performance from the kid. So definitely going to give him some helmet stickers here.
All right, great pick there. And I got to give mine as well. My helmet sticker goes to Malik Cunningham. Just pretty much playing out of his mind. They pretty much drug Duke. Duke has had a really hard time. Coach Cutcliffe, one of the most established quarterback coaches in the in college football. He's responsible for training both Manning brothers, Daniel Jones, and a host of other quarterbacks that have come out of his tutelage. But they've been having it been getting dragged all year. And I can tell you, Malik Cunningham went out there to put on a show. The man threw for 303 yards and 224 yards rushing. It was almost reminiscent of like like an old school game where you had a quarterback who ran the option and could throw the ball. I mean, he just went out there and did a great job, and got to give it to Malik Cunningham as far as he goes. He gets my helmet sticker. So,
yeah, man,
we got our helmet stickers out of the way. What do you got to add to that, Lorenz?
Dude, Cunningham, I just want to harp on that. 303 passing yards, 5 touchdowns. I mean, that alone is impressive. That's super impressive. That my dude had 224
rush Lamar game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And 2 touchdowns on 11 carries. Like, how explosive is this dude? That was an unreal performance, Big Law. If you hadn't picked him, I would have brought him up. But he's the main guy. I think he's getting 5 helmet stickers from the panel here if we were all going to take the same guy, because there's not going to be anyone – I'm calling it right now. There's not going to be a better performance this entire week, I don't think.
And Hunter called it right. Now playing the role of Lamar Jackson is Malik Cunningham for sure. And he still has a year left. That's the scary part about it. I wonder, how much draft buzz he's actually going to get. I don't think he's coming out this year, but next year, let's say he continues on this path and, the draft buzz, you think about the young man down at Liberty, how much buzz he's been getting. Malik Cunningham is putting up bigger numbers than that. Malik Cunningham does have a turnover gene, inside of him a little bit sometimes, but the explosiveness is there and the production is there, and he's playing in a tougher conference or plays in the ACC, which Lynchburg University.
Liberty.
What are they called? They're the Liberty. There we go.
Liberty.
Yeah, and Liberty is not necessarily in a conference yet, but we'll see. How the rest of this goes. But I'm interested to see how Malik Cunningham goes for the next season, and also getting into this bowl season as well. So let's go ahead and just jump right into it, guys. We got some previews to take care of, and I'm gonna come straight to you, Face. This is the biggest game of the year. The later the year goes, the stakes are higher. You have Ohio State at noon playing Michigan State, man. This is number 7 against number 4. This is bowl championship implications coming up. ABC, it's going to be on there live. So talk to me, man. Give me your preview for this Michigan State-Ohio State matchup.
Well, first off, we could talk about the line real quick, which is 19. And when you look at it, you're like, whoa, that's pretty big. Now, I'm not a betting man. Listen, like people talk about scared money don't make money. I have scared money, man. I'm not putting my money on anything like that. It's a little too risky for me. But when you think about why Michigan State's pass defense is the worst pass defense in the entire country, for as good a job as Mel Tucker has done with that football team, they just cannot stop the pass. It's their weakest point. They're the weakest team in the country at it. And what does Ohio State love to do? First of all, they're the best offense in the country based on yards a game. I think they're like the 6th or 7th best pass offense. And lately, I mean, you could argue that they are the most explosive attack offensively in the entire country. Trey Henderson is a freshman who might be the first game where Kenneth Walker is going into it where, the guy across from him, the running back across from him is just as good, if not better than him. Now, obviously, Henderson isn't draft eligible. He's not going to be for another couple of years. But, I mean, this Ohio State offense is going to score quickly, most likely because they can take advantage of that. But, I mean, once again, Ohio State's defense isn't the most stellar either. Their pass defense really struggled against Purdue last week. I know that the offense kind of made it look like it was a blowout, but that defense still gave up almost 500 yards, 31 points. So Purdue is kind of doing it in different ways. Peyton Thorne is very capable. He's got Naylor. He's got Jaden Reed. Obviously, I talked about Walker, so it's not like they don't have weapons to try to keep up. But I just think that at the end of the day, Ohio State, just too many weapons, too fast. I still think that there is a talent gap between them. I think the bridge is becoming shorter, not the bridge, but the gap is becoming shorter, becoming thinner. And I think Mel Tucker is going to continue to do a good job. But I think for this year, for right now, it's just there's too much. It's a cold day in Columbus once again, just like it was last week. Now, it's not like Michigan State is built for the cold, but I just think that passing attack for the Buckeyes is just going to be too much. And the Spartans just haven't stopped it all year. They haven't stopped any passing attack all year.
Well, let me get to somebody else who's built for the cold. That's my man. Lorenz Lineweaver, you know what I mean? He's over there across the pond in Germany. Talk to me, man. I need some of your analysis on this game as well.
You're right about the cold, man. I can't function in the heat, so I like it nice and cold for sure. But Ohio State, look, to me, that's the second best team in the country because that offense alone, I think it's the best offense in the country by honestly a decent margin. What C.J. Stroud's been able to do playing quarterback with those 3 future top 2 round receivers, whatever you want to call them. Chris Olave is going to play his last game in the shoe, I think. Today, they're explosive. They're going to put points up on the board. They're going to be putting 40 points on the board against Michigan State. No question about it. The running game is good. They got the offensive line. And this team is humming right now on offense. They made a lot of changes on defense, but it's a completely different team, in my opinion, than the team that played Oregon. I think, the record and the track record in the last couple of weeks for Ohio State sort of speaks for itself. But this is where it starts for them. It's Michigan State. They're also going to play Michigan and Penn State down the road, if I'm not mistaken. No, Penn State they already played. My bad. But they're still playing both the Michigan teams, which – I mean, look, if you win these 2 games, I don't see how you don't put them number 2 in the country, but they still got to do it. I just think they're going to score too many points. They're going to be – I mean, Michigan State, they got to find a way to get stops, get turnovers, and then pound the rock with Kenneth Walker. Keep that offense off the field as long as you can. If these boys get into rhythm, it's going to be tough. If C.J. Stroud, if these receivers, if they get humming, and I think they will, they're going to be running up the scoreboard, and Michigan State's just going to have a tough time hanging on. Now, I'm not betting. I'm not. It's tough to bet against Mel Tucker this season. What he's been able to do. We saw it in the Michigan game where he was able to keep a close, couple gutsy calls. Really fun game to watch, and in my opinion, one of the better coaching performance of the entire season. But I just think Ohio State, they're number 2 big, and I'm going to be honest. I think Michigan is more equipped in a couple weeks to stop this Ohio State team than Michigan State is. Still should be a fun game, but I think Ohio State probably going to win by 10 or 13 if I had to bet, and they might be putting up 50.
You said that last
Oh
week,
my
and they
goodness,
won by
man.
like 30. So just so all people watching, the Lorenz curse did happen last week, and just beware of it again today.
Wait, what did I say?
Oh my goodness.
Last week you said it might be a 10-point Ohio State victory, and then you texted
Oh
me.
man, yeah,
You
that
texted
was.
me when it was like 42-14, and we're like, "What idiot said this?"
Oh my goodness. And I can tell you, this is go ahead, Lawrence.
I was just gonna say, I know Purdue beat them, but I do think Michigan State's a better team than Purdue, and also gotta love to see Kellen already got the red party cups out. Columbus, Ohio, they're ready.
Yeah, he's
Rolling
ready.
back.
All right. Look, it's already noon kickoff, right? He has to
You
get
gotta
right
be
for
ready.
the game early. That's right. So let me come to you on this, Hunter. This is your conference. Talk to me about this. I'll let you comment on this as well.
Well, before Kellen said, "Scared money don't make no money," but the $95 million that Mel Tucker secured, this week, I think that's going to tell you that those boys are not going to be scared to face Ohio State. In the same breath, though, this is not a good matchup on paper. I think the Spartans would have to play like A+, no mistakes, like perfect game in order to win. And Ohio State can play like kind of good and still win by double digits. So I don't think that Michigan State's going to pull it off. But if they do, I think you start talking about this Michigan State team. Kenneth Walker probably locks up the Heisman, and Mel Tucker probably locks up Coach of the Year. So there's a lot at stake for the Spartans here, but I think a lot would have to happen from the win.
Well, they have the blueprint, the running game to keep that explosive offense off the field. What do you want to add to that, Slick?
Yeah, I think Ohio State rolls in this one, but it doesn't take away from what Michigan State has done this year. It's been so impressive. But Ohio State, if they don't lose that game to Oregon before they're really getting into their offense and working at the level that they're working now, a game to Oregon, there's no way to me that they're not the number 2 team in the country right now. And they're probably the second favorite going into probably the closest thing to beating Georgia that we've got this year is this Ohio State team.
Oh, wow. Speaking of number 2 team and who can beat Georgia, you got Alabama may have something to say about that. You figure if there's an Alabama team that was ever under the radar at number 2, it's got to be Alabama. Nobody is talking about Alabama. I don't know, a quieter number 2 that is an Alabama squad. I haven't seen it. You hear about the quarterback and some of the things that he does, but really, Alabama's really been under the radar. And I got to hear what Lorenz has to say. He has to give us this preview on this game. They play at 3:00 on CBS. Alabama is a 20-point favorite going against the number 21 Arkansas Razorbacks. Talk to me about this game, Lorenz. What do you feel about this matchup?
Yeah, nobody's talking about Alabama because I think on the offensive line side of the ball, they haven't been as dominant as in past years. I know they got big Evan Neal playing left tackle, who's an absolute monster. But outside of that, they just haven't had that presence of a Landon Dickerson, Deontay Brown they had last year, and then Najee Harris in the backfield, where they were just running the ball on everybody, which that's not the case this year. They're relying a little bit more. We saw it in the LSU game. They really lost the battle up front. And that's why that game was so close. They're relying on Bryce Young to make plays. Still got a lot of great receivers. John Mechie and Jameson Williams there. That 1-2 punch is as good as it gets. 2 tight ends that can play Latu and Jaleel Billingsley. What I'm really impressed by is the defensive front. And Arkansas, they're coming off 3 wins in a row. They got former offensive line coach Sam Pittman coaching the squad, and they pride themselves in offensive line play and hanging up front, and they're going to be facing Fedarian Mathis, who's a senior. I think he's going to receive a Senior Bowl invite. I don't know if he has yet. He's not the best athlete, but someone who's really strong and shows a lot of impressive hand usage. Byron Young and Justin Ebuigbe are the other two interior kind of guys who I think they're both juniors, but I think if both declare they're going to be day 2 draft picks. I think they're a little bit different. Ebuigbe is a little bit longer. He can kick out to a 5, to a 7 tech, a little bit more super long, violent rusher who's a lot of fun to watch. He's going to have to hone in his technique a little bit, but you talk about traits. Same with Byron Young. I mean, this defensive line is a treat to watch. 31. Got to take my eyes off him because he's not draft eligible. It might be the best player in college football. Will Anderson, absolute monster, absolute stud. But Arkansas, they got center Ricky Stromberg and left tackle Myron Cunningham. They're going to have to hold up, going to have to hold together their attack to get the run game going, whether that's with KJ Jefferson, who's so much fun to watch, is probably 250 playing the quarterback position. Just a big man, and he can get going. Absolute unit, 5 yards a carry. If they can establish that, I think Alabama, they're vulnerable at the second level. I'm not super impressed with their linebacker play, going to be completely honest. And also in the secondary, same thing. It's good, but it's not the Alabama great that they've had last couple of years ago. And then they're going to want to be taking shots downfield. Treylon Burks, I think, is going to face a big matchup against Josh Joby. Talked a lot about how Treylon Burks at 6'3", 220 is a big physical kind of wide receiver that could win the ball in the air. Also a lot of straight line speed. Just a power forward type receiver. He's going to face Josh Joby, who's equally physical, who's someone who I've accused him of getting a little bit grabby. In the SEC, they won't call it as much. So it's going to be a big matchup for Treylon Burks if he can continue to haul in those deep shots that they do like to take. At the end of the day, I think Arkansas, similar to Michigan State, they got to play a perfect game. They got to get lucky here and there. I would expect Alabama to win this by 2, maybe 3 possessions. And the reason is their offense, I think their passing attack, and then also their run game. We saw it in the Georgia game where Arkansas struggled a little bit against that kind of a potent offense that then started their run where Arkansas dropped a couple of games. Another matchup that I'm looking out for, cornerback Monteric Brown's one of the better senior corners in the country. Really love what he's able to do at the catch point, staying calm, staying composed, find the football. Biggest matchup of the year for him, Jamison Williams and John Mechie. I just talked about him. These two guys are as elite as it gets in college football. Going to be fun to watch to see how he fares up against these two star receivers.
I got to come to you, Hunter. Talk to me about this game. What are you looking for in this game?
I think the key matchup to look for, like Lorenz kind of highlighted, is the Razorbacks' run offense versus Alabama's rush defense. They are 6th in the country at 233 rushing yards per game, being Arkansas. And then Alabama only allowing 81.5 rushing yards per game. So that's kind of going to be where the tide kind of shifts, sort of pun intended there. And then Alabama, they can clinch their side of the SEC with a win here, and then they can advance to face Georgia in the SEC championship game, which is probably going to be maybe one of the best games of the entire season. So hopefully for college football, that can happen. We can see these two Clash of the Titans go at each other. But Arkansas might want to play spoiler here too. Really explosive offense led by KJ Jefferson. They have a 14-game losing streak to Alabama. I definitely don't think they want to make it 15.
All right. Well, I can tell you, I actually went to this game about 6 years ago with my brother. My brother is a guy down there. He has some ties down there with the college, and my nephew plays for the team. So it's a pretty big game down there, believe it or not. I was out there, when they're tailgating. Everybody's cooking a hog. Like I'm dead. Like it's a pig picking where they have the hog on the spit. And oh my goodness, it was unbelievable. Every other one, it was like everybody's cooking a pig. So they take that so serious down there. It's unreal. You want to add anything to that, Face?
No, I just think that Arkansas really relies on their best players, right? Jefferson and Burks. So I mean, if that's how they're going to beat Bama, or that's how they're going to beat Bama if they are going to, it's just those two guys making plays, right? Your big players have to make big plays in big games. That's how they're going to win. And I really like Raheem Sanders, who's their freshman running back. I don't think he's the leading rusher on this team, but that guy is a beast. I don't know. I think he's a freshman. I know he's a freshman, but a couple years down the line, probably be looking at him as one of the top backs in the draft. He runs very hard.
All right. Well, that's awesome. So everybody look out for that game. That game is at 3:30 on CBS. Alabama 20.5-point favorite. Now I'm going to my next preview. I got my man Slick Alec Toledo. He has the number 3 Oregon Ducks, quack, quack, playing against number 23 Utah Utes. That's a late game. That's a 7:30 p.m. kickoff on ABC. And it's going to be a 3.5-point favorite for the Utes. Talk to me about this game, man. How does a number 23 team have a 3.5-point favorite on the number 3 team in the nation? I don't know if I've ever seen that line. I can't recall seeing a team ranked that low having any kind of a advantage over a team ranked that high.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. It is played in Utah today, but this is a game with a lot on the line for both teams. Both teams 6-1 right now in the conference. Both trying to lock up their side of the division. Oregon has a 2-game cushion right now. If they are to win this game, they're locked in. They're getting the North. Utah needs to win and needs to. I think they need another win next week before they can lock up. I think the team that's second in the conference is only 1 game behind them. But this also could be a Pac-12 championship preview. Even with a loss for Utah or Oregon, both can still get in. So we might be looking at this matchup again a couple weeks down the line. Oregon obviously needs this win to stay in contention for that college football playoff. A 2-loss Oregon is not going to get into that top 4. And even with a Pac-12 win, I just don't see it happening. And then for Utah, their coach is actually tied right now for the most wins in program history. A big win against Oregon, putting him as the most winningest coach in program history would be a nice way to stamp himself in the record books there. But getting into this game a little bit, it is going to be it's going to come down to really who can be more efficient with the football right now, because Anthony Brown has had a really good year for this Oregon team. He's been a really solid leader and quarterback for this team. And he's going to have to not make mistakes today. They're going to need to rely on the run game, though, in Travis Dye and Byron Cardwell, the young running back there for Oregon, who has really stepped up in CJ's absence. Johnny Johnson and Micah Pittman are going to have to be reliable receivers there for Anthony Brown, as he's going to try and get the ball down the field. And then, they're going to use Malachi Matavao at tight end. TJ Bass and Alex Forsythe, they're going to have to keep the lanes clear in the running game. But they're really going to have to stay clear of someone in the center of that defense. That's Devin Lloyd, who has been a phenomenal linebacker who has affected multiple games for Utah and pushed them, honestly, into a winning situation just with how much disruption he has forced on that back end. And then defensive end Mike Tufau is going to be a problem that Oregon is going to have to handle. Their tackles are not as good as they were previously, so they're going to have to really handle that pass rush. For Utah's side, though, Cameron has been super efficient for Utah, and he's really kept the game kept the game close and kept it into a position where they can win. Nick Ford, the center, has been phenomenal and is one of the better center prospects in the country right now, going into the draft. Brent Kuth is actually leading the team in receptions and receiving yards. Their tight end, and he's been very solid for them. And then Tavion Thomas, the sophomore running back, has been super promising for them and will continue to lead that backfield. But the big story here is, can they do anything against potential number 1 overall pick here, Kayvon Thibodeau? it is not an easy task. He has had games where he has taken over and just been such a dominant force that you can't get anything going on the offensive side. He's going to have to do that today because this is an efficient offense that will slowly get down the field and score. And he needs to get in the backfield and disrupt Cameron Rissing as much as possible. Noah Sewell has had a good year, and he's going to have to continue to have a good year at that second level. And then if you talk about this secondary here, DJ James, Jerome McKinley, and Mikael Wright, these guys are phenomenal players that have really just been excellent for this Oregon team. It's them plus Thibodeau getting pressure has been so crucial to this defense, keeping this offense in this game. And Anthony Brown has done a great job with just playing his role, and he's been very good, but keeping this team mistake-free. And that's what Oregon needs to do today. They need to stop the Utah offense. They need to get score points, obviously, with Anthony Brown and this run game. But they need to keep Utah from driving down the field and scoring. And if Utah wins this game, unfortunately, we will not be seeing Oregon in that final. But Oregon winning this one, they would lock up the Pac-12 North. I think Oregon wins this. It's going to be close, as most of their games have been so far this year. I think this is going to be a close one for them, but I just don't see anyone on this Utah roster that can stop Kayvon Thibodeau. And I think that it's going to be a bloodbath in that backfield trying to stop this guy.
Oh, my goodness. My goodness. You're talking about a game record. He is definitely a game record. You know, the question is, and I'll point this to you, Lorenz, you know, better than Chase Young. You know, now you kind of seeing what Chase Young's going through, you know, on the next level. You know, give me your analysis on that, man.
As a prospect, no, not. I thought Chase Young coming out. I mean, first of all, the production that he had, I thought the hand usage, the get off. I really like Kayvon Thibodeau. I thought Chase Young had a couple more elite kind of traits where he was even. I mean, Kayvon Thibodeau, we're talking about someone who I'm saying I think is probably going to be the first overall pick. Chase Young would have been if he wasn't this draft, in my opinion. Not a massive gap, but I just think when it comes to hand usage, when it comes to maybe a little bit more power, Chase Young was a little bit bigger, I think, at 265 versus Thibodeau in the 250s. Slight things that I think give Chase Young the advantage, and I think Young, obviously, he's had the injury, so you can't foresee that. But as a prospect, Chase Young was as elite as it gets at the pass rusher position.
I got to come to you, you know, on Mr. Ohio State, as far as, you know, comparing the two. How do you compare the two?
I'm kind of with Lorenz on this. I think that just, you know, in kind of every way, shape, or form, there's just like a little bit of a gap between, you know, or between Chase and Kayvon right now. And maybe next year it'll be better to talk about Will Anderson versus Chase Young, just because I think Will Anderson will just be slightly better of a prospect, and that comparison will happen more. But that's not to say that Kayvon isn't in that, you know, upper tier of edge rushing prospects. Now, you know, you talk about the Bosas and Myles Garrett, you know, even going back to Jadeveon Clowney, who, you know, his career didn't turn out how we thought it would. But going back as a prospect, I mean, that guy was one of the best edges that we've ever seen, traits-wise, at the very least. Chase Young in the same direction. So I don't know if Thibodeau is up there with them, but at the very least, he's comparable to them. But next year, I mean, when we get to Will Anderson, I'll be very ready for that. I know Lorenz will too.
Well, I got to come to you with this, Hunter, now. What do you feel about as far as comparing the two?
Well, I think it's very fair to compare the two. Even Chase Young was the best player in his draft, although he went number 2. Like, the dude was far and away just absolutely dominant, and was dominant for multiple years, just like Thibodeau. Thibodeau, if I'm not mistaken, if he wasn't number 1 coming out of high school, he was pretty damn close to being it. So he had extremely lofty expectations. He's done nothing but live up to them. He's been great, and he probably will go first overall, in a really stacked defensive class too, which says a lot. You know, sometimes you just got to be like, you know what, they're both great players. Maybe don't pit them against each other. Let's just root for both of them to be good.
Well, you know how that goes. You know, he's the closest thing, I think, coming behind Chase Young, and he's in that realm of just super freak athlete, and he looks the part as well. So I'm interested to see how this draft plays out. Of course, we will be there front and center. hopefully down there in Vegas as we try to put something together. But we'll be out there watching and reporting and running around out there in Sin City. So now it's time for me. It's my turn. I'm going to talk about UVA goes against Pittsburgh today at 3:30 at Heinz Field, ESPN2. Pittsburgh is a 14.5-point favorite. Now, what I have to say about this game, it's a shame because the 14.5 points, I believe, comes from the fact that Brennan Armstrong, they haven't made an announcement on him yet. Have you guys heard anything on Brennan Armstrong being able to play yet?
I have not.
And I'm an insider. I haven't heard anything either. You know, they keep everything so tight. But you think about it, he didn't play last week against Notre Dame. So they held him out for the Notre Dame game because, you know, or some reasoning is what they're saying is there's, you know, 2 games left on the schedule, Pittsburgh and Virginia Tech. And the Coastal Division Championship is still, in their sights. So if they can beat Pittsburgh and beat Virginia Tech, they wrap up the Coastal Division. So maybe, you know, people are saying, you know, that's some pretty decent strategy. Sure, you would love to play against Notre Dame, but if he's only 60%, why not hold him out? Maybe get him up to 80% and get him ready to go for a conference game. That's kind of been the talk out here in the state of Virginia up in Charlottesville. Will Brennan be able to play against Pittsburgh and against Cody Pickett, who and I'm going to come to you guys, so start thinking about it. As far as, you know, the quarterback, number 1 quarterback being drafted, who does he compare to and all that? Right now, I think, in my opinion, I think he's a little bit overrated. I think some people are saying, oh, he's the first quarterback coming out. I think it's all by default. You know, really I do. You know, I've seen him struggle mightily, you know, in some games. I've seen him get hot, do well, but they barely got out of the game a couple weeks ago. And, and Pickett, could only manage 3 points after halftime, you know, and barely got out of their game. It was last week. They barely got out of the game. So I'm interested to seeing how this game is going to shake out, especially if Brennan can play. But he does have his weapons. Jordan Addison, receiver extraordinaire, typical of what Pittsburgh, you know, what they have, always have had a stud receiver coming out of there the past 10, 15 years with Larry Fitzgerald and all, you know, that whole lineage of wide receivers that come out of there. Then you think about also Jared Wayne, another receiving threat that they have there that Cody Pickett can rely on. But the offense, I think, is not, I mean, Cody Pickett's the name, but really why this team is as good as they are is that defense, man. I believe you pronounce his name Habakkuk, right? Habakkuk Baldonado, who has 8 sacks right now, and he is an absolute animal on that defensive line. And you put that together with Kalijah Cansey with he has 5 sacks himself. So Pittsburgh their defense is one of the top defenses in the nation at getting sacks against the competition, and that's something that you're gonna have to really pay attention to, but and not to leave out Servassier Dennis, who actually is a really good linebacker for them as well, another playmaker. So Pittsburgh at 8 wins already for the season. I believe they're already getting ready to take off, but I'm not sure about Cody Pickett. We're going to come back and talk about him. I'm going to ask you guys. But on to Virginia. If he can't play, Brennan, you're going to have Jay Wolfwick in there, a true freshman. UVA hadn't had a starter and a true freshman starter in about 40 years. And there's a reason for that. It's just not an institution that has high-level quarterbacks that can come in and play, for their history. So having him in there, I mean, he looks like he has some talent. He has baseball talent. He's a pitcher, throws 90-some miles an hour. So he has a whip. The kid can throw the ball. He's also really quick. He can run the ball. It's just his experience isn't there, and especially playing in these high-stake games. You're not going to get, what you want out of a player who only has had, this is his third start, I believe, or second start coming in, third time coming in for the season for an offense that is ranked one of the top offense in the nation. You still have Dontavion Wicks. one of the top receivers in the ACC, if not the country, over 1,000 yards receiving with 9 touchdowns. You still got Keaton Thomas, football player, extraordinaire, plays all 4 positions, quarterback, tight end, wide receiver, and running back. And then, Devin Darrington, another, gem who was a transfer who came over from Harvard and actually has some explosive talent. I think they're going to have to start relying on him a little bit more and not so much Jay Woolfolk. And then the defense, of course, has struggled but has played well for the last 3 games with Nick Jackson, who has 95 tackles for the year. Joey Blunt with 73 and 2 ints. And then, of course, Noah Taylor with 61 tackles and 3 sacks. And I'm interested in seeing how this team plays out. But, that 14.5-point spread is justified when you have a true freshman quarterback only starting his second game of his career, of the year. So I hope Brendan Armstrong's ready to play, because if so, you're going to have some fireworks. Now, I got to come to you, Alec. Talk to me about, this quarterback, Cody Pickett. Give me your idea and what you feel. I feel like Brendan Armstrong is a better quarterback, really. He takes more chances, but I think he's a better quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, Kenny Pickett's had a phenomenal year, and he's really I feel like he's been in college forever, but he stepped onto the scene this year and really started to, I guess, understand that offense at a higher level. His play IQ this year that I've seen has been phenomenal. He's making the right decisions. He's putting up statistics, and he's, the biggest question that's going to come down on him is, there's 2 big questions for him is really arm strength and his hand size. And those are the things that, like, when we talk about him in the draft, if you can't get over those, if teams can't get over that, and there's going to be teams are going to have size requirements on every position. Every position you'll see teams have player profiles that they will follow, and 8.25 hands, I think is what he's got, or 8.5 hands. It's going to not hit on a lot of teams. There's a lot of teams that are going to be out on him simply because of that. And that's why you see him wear the gloves. His hands are clearly on the smaller side, but what he's done this year has been phenomenal. And I think that as a quarterback prospect, it's almost, and Lorenz said it best on Thursday, he is going to be locked to go in that first round or close to it, because there's really an absence at that position, and people will push and find for that position. So I do think that the chances of him going in the first round are very high. I do think he's better than Brennan Armstrong, but I think that that doesn't take away from what Brennan Armstrong's done. I just think Pickett gives more to the NFL game than Brennan Armstrong. But it's a real interesting quarterback matchup today.
All right. Well, that's great to hear. I got to come to you, Lorenz, on this same question, man. Talk to me about Mr. Pickett and what you think about this game and what you think about him as well.
Yeah, I mean, if Brendan Armstrong doesn't play first of all for this game, I think could be a long day for Virginia, because this Pitt offense and defense are home, and great job that Pat Narduzzi has done there. Lost a ton of starters to the draft last year, has reloaded. Last year was really the secondary. This year it's that front 7 that's been leading the way for this team. But Pickett, yeah, I mean, watching him over the summer, he didn't have a lot of help there, not a lot of receivers that could get off of man coverage. Opposing teams, they'd run a lot of man coverage against him, and he just wasn't able to really get his guys going there, which I thought put a bit of a cap on him and what he was going to be able to do, because it was really tough. I grade him out in that 4th to 5th round range. I think he's played better this year. He's obviously got some more trust, got some more rapport with these receivers. His agility, or his pocket presence, so to say. I don't think he's overly agile, but his pocket presence is good. He's been making sound decisions. He's been accurate. All those things. I think in a normal year, he's probably in that day 2 range, but just because his quarterback class at the top is as bad as it is, and we'll get into that in the coming months, I don't think anyone has elevated themselves at all outside of Kenny Pickett this season. Looking at all the top guys, or not at all, but not much. I think that's why he's getting pushed up. I think rightfully so. As a senior quarterback, he is towards the top of that class. I'm just struggling to see him as the kind of guy you're gonna spend a big time draft pick on, and then have someone who can make the big throw for you on 3rd and 7 consistently. The things that it takes to be that top 15, that top 10 kind of quarterback to elevate your team consistently. I don't know if he's going to be that guy. I do think Kenny Pickett's going to be around the NFL for a good bit of time. I'm just not seeing him as, again, that kind of guy that can go to Pro Bowls for you, that can put the team on his back for you. I think he's solid. He's a good quarterback. He's a good prospect, but nothing that gets me overly excited.
How does he compare to Brennan Armstrong? Just curious for my personal reasons.
I mean, I think Armstrong, like you said, he's more explosive, right? He takes a couple more chances. He's a little more in the mold of that. Yeah, I think explosive is sort of the right word. I think Pickett is more consistent, if that makes sense. More consistent, making the correct decisions. It really depends. If you have a team like Virginia who are going into this game, if he does play not favored, you would probably rather want the Brennan Armstrong type guy in college football because he can eventually, if he has a little bit of turnover luck or has a good game, he could potentially elevate you more than someone like Pickett can. If you're going into this game favored, like Pitt does with a good defense, probably want someone like Pickett more because he's going to be able to probably keep your offense on track. He's going to get the explosive play here and there, but not to the extent that a Brennan Armstrong can.
And that's why game managers go to UFAs. So let me talk to you. Face. You're the quarterback on the team. Give me your analysis on this.
I think he compares pretty well to the last few QBs we've seen come out of Pittsburgh and get drafted. Tom Savage, Nathan Peterman. Now, I know neither of their careers have turned out. Nathan Peterman has really become a walking meme, because of the troubles that he's had with the stats in the NFL. But I mean, right, both of these guys were mid-round picks. Tom Savage and Peterman, they're career backups. I don't know if Savage is still in the league. I know Peterman is bouncing around. I think Pickett is more solid of a prospect. I think he's a better quarterback than both of them are. But I don't know if he's any more of a starter than those guys are. I don't think that Kenny Pickett is going to be ever a top half quarterback in the league, even as we start to see the older guys, start to fizzle out. When you start to see the Bradys and the Rodgers fizzle out. I still don't think that Pickett is going to be talented as some of the guys that will be drafted in this class, and even coming behind, even with as bad as this class is, next year and the year after that, there's still going to be there's quarterbacks that are going to be just fine, who are probably going to come in the league and be better than him. So I don't know if you're looking at a long-term starter in him, but at the very least, probably a long-term backup in the league.
Sounds very solid, man. Anybody want to add anything to that, Hunter or Alec? You guys want to add anything to that? Go ahead, Hunter.
Yes, sure. I think the biggest thing with Kenny Pickett, I mean, give him credit that things are finally starting to click for him this year. But in all honesty, what the hell took so long? Like, this guy's been in college forever. Like, why is it all of a sudden? I don't know how many offensive coordinators they've had at Pitt, so I don't want to sit here and be like he's had to learn new offense and stuff. I understand. But the fact that now it's starting to hit where he probably shouldn't even be playing there anymore is a little ridiculous. And I know I'm kind of like the journalist here, so I found something interesting. Apparently, there's someone who's been with the program even longer than Kenny Pickett at Pitt. That's wide receiver Trey Tipton. He's been there for 7 seasons, guys. 7 seasons. That's a long time to be there. Barack Obama was president when he started with Pitt. There's been 2 presidents since then. This guy's 25 years old, which actually isn't that old. But I saw that. I was like, oh, my God. Like, how is he even eligible still? He's been there since 2015.
My guy, Hunter, with the insider nuggets as usual.
Can't make it up.
We appreciate that. We love it, brother. Appreciate that. Now we get to the next game. We got number 11, Baylor. Going against K-State, 5:30 Eastern time on FS1. K-State, a 1-point favorite. Talk to me about this game, my man, Lorenz.
Yeah, maybe a little trap game for the Baylor Bears coming off that big dub against Oklahoma, in which look, Dave Aranda went into the Big 12 and said, look, we're going to play defense, we're going to run the dang ball. And it's really worked. They got three guys in the backfield there with their quarterback, with Abram Smith, who just received a Senior Bowl invite. I've told the story about him leading the team in tackles last 4 games last year. He was a former linebacker, someone you don't want to bet against. And Treston Ebner, who's also surpassed 500 and even 600 yards, I think, last week. And then that defense, they got Terrell Bernard and Jalen Petrie, who are some of the best pure football players. You talk about instincts, you talk about being around the football consistently in the entire country. Now, they're not the most athletic guys. I don't think they're the biggest guys. So that puts a little bit of a cap on their NFL future. And I think Bernard's had some injury concerns as well. But two guys, if you just throw in the film, if you're paying attention to them, how consistently they're around the football, it's a lot of fun to watch. And Dave Aranda working a bit of his magic there, coaching these guys up. Not taking away from them, though, what they've been able to do. Great players. And then K-State, they got the explosive offense, similar to what we thought about Oklahoma going into the game last week. Let's see if they can actually put it on the turf, if they can actually show it, because they're 7-3, and they have built that potent offense. Running back Deuce Vaughn, who's a true sophomore, who's like 5'6", but absolutely electric. I mean, tough to get an angle on, tough to tackle. And just one of the most fun players in college football. And quarterback Skylar Thompson, who's been around there for seems like forever as well. I think going in his third year there as a starter, he can run it as well. He's a threat on the ground. So I think Baylor wins this. I think I would go with Baylor money line if I was a betting man, because I do think that defense and that run game is once again going to prevail. And it's going to be a lot closer than you would think going into 11th versus unranked, because Baylor, they're 8-2, K-State they're 7-3, so it's going to be fun. It's going to be a big test for those two studs that the Bears have on defense.
Well, I'm coming to you, Mr. Scared Money. They call him Face. Talk to me about this game. What do you feel about the quarterback play for this game?
I haven't gotten a great look at Skylar Thompson, but I do love what I see from Gary Bohannon more often than not. I think that Lorenz is right. I mean, David Aranda has come into that program and said, we're going to play Big 12 football. We're going to win Big 12 football different than how everyone else does it. Now, I know Oklahoma and Texas are leaving in the coming future, so that'll definitely make it easier on them. But I like what they're doing. I like that program. It's a very, very difficult program to be good at. So look for Dave Aranda, obviously, to get some of those job offers. I don't know if he'll take LSU. I don't know if he'll take USC or Washington or whatever is going to happen. I don't think Baylor or Washington is that's a lateral move. But USC, LSU, those are two of the better jobs in the country. And I think he could be up for it. I mean, he might follow the Matt Rule path, right? I mean, NFL teams, they might want a guy like Dave Aranda running their NFL locker room. So, keep an eye out on that. I don't really have much to say about the game. Like I said, I like Gary Bohannon. I like the Baylor, the style that Baylor plays with. But as far as the game goes, I think Lorenz kind of spoke on everything else about as well as he could.
And I'm going to come to you, Polito. Anything to add to that game?
No, I think they kind of hit it all, but I do think that this is prototypical trap game, and I don't know if, like, I'm not predicting Baylor's going to lose this one, but this is a good team at Kansas State, and it's not easy to go from what they did last week against Oklahoma to come back now, go to Kansas State. That's a difficult game.
All right. Well, I can tell you, it looks like it definitely trap game written all over it. K-State, a 1-point favorite, unranked over a one. These there's something in the water. The Sharks know something out in Vegas. The people who are putting these numbers together, there's something going on. So we'll keep you guys up to date on these scores. Oh wow. Go ahead, Hunter. You want to add something to that?
I think they're gonna win. All right, I'll be real quick here. Baylor has struggled really bad on the road this season. Both their losses have been on the road, and they've struggled even in some of the wins that they've had. And then watch out for Felix Anudike Uzoma. I hope I'm saying that right. That's a mouthful. But he has 4 forced fumbles and 5 sacks over his last 3 games for Kansas State. Watch out for him to cause pressure on the edge there. I'm going Kansas State. I think this is a trap game. I really do. I'm going bold. It's been a bold season. I'm going Kansas State.
Bold is a proper word for this season. I can tell you, it's going to be interesting to see. But K-State, hey, that one, maybe there's something to that 1-point favorite. So coming back to you, Hunter, we got UAB against the number 22 University of Texas San Antonio, undefeated. Aren't they the Roadrunners? The Roadrunners at 3:30 on ESPN Plus. They're a 4.5-point favorite. My man Wonder Boy, talk to me about this game.
Yeah, like we said, we're running a little low on time here, so I'll be as brief as I possibly can. UAB, despite the fact that they had to be resurrected, if you will, as a football team because they lost their program in 2014, they have been really good ever since, though. They've kind of dominated the Conference USA. But UTSA has been the team to beat this year, and rightfully so. Undefeated. They're great on defense. Definitely look out for the running game here between the two guys. Sincere McCormick for the Roadrunners has 1,150 yards on the season, as well as 11 touchdowns. And DeWay McBride, 95 rushing yards and 10 touchdowns. So that's definitely going to be the game within the game to watch here. UTSA, San Antonio, they struggled last week too. Really barely beating Southern Miss. I think it was like under 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. They took the lead for the first time in that entire game. So Frank Harris had 2 picks as well. Their quarterback, he's not someone who's typically a turnover-friendly quarterback, so expect him to have a better game as well. And then if you're UTSA, they got a really good defense. They allow under 20 points per game. UAB is going to have to – the Blazers will have to get some sort of offense going in order to win this one.
Appreciate that. Great analysis from my man Hunter, the Wonder Boy Pickoff. So let's get into our scouting matchups of the week. I'm coming to you first, Mr. Garenstein. Talk to me, man. What is your scouting matchup of the week?
Yeah, I'm going Jahan Dotson versus Avery Young. Avery Young is I believe he's a favorite of Jeremiah Bogan, who one of our most respected scouts in the business right now, for at least in my opinion. But I couldn't say too much about Avery Young. I just know that as deep a cornerback class as this is, he's a guy that's probably going to get some day 3 buzz, like back end of 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round, anything like that. Obviously, Jahan Dotson, being the talent he is, maybe a first round player this year. Definitely, at least probably a day 2 player. So that's going to be my matchup to watch. Another one of kind of probably 2 smaller guys. Another receiver corner matchup: Emeka Emezi, NC State versus Garrett Williams of Syracuse. So 2 of them to keep an eye on right there.
I got my man coming to you, Alec Polito. Give me your matchup of the week.
Yeah, I love the Avery Young shout out there, and I'm gonna go with South Alabama versus Tennessee. We got Jalen Tolbert against Alontae Taylor. I think that's gonna be a big matchup. Obviously, both of those guys could find themselves, I think, taken on day 2, and that's one that I think both will be looking back at for both of them postseason.
All right, Lorenz, what do you got as far as your matchup of the week?
Great call there by Alec, first of all, because these guys excel at the same things. Whether as a corner, Taylor, he's really good at the line and when the ball's in the air, and that's really where Tolbert shines as well. So that's going to be a great NFL on NFL player matchup. Another one, we got the Battle of LA going, UCLA versus USC. We got UCLA left tackle Sean Ryan, who's had a bit more of a quiet season, hasn't really taken the step that people want him to take, going up against Drake Jackson, who has had a pretty good season. It's just gone pretty unnoticed there for USC. He was the one that dropped a lot of weight, went from 280 to 250 2 years ago, took a bit of a time to get acclimated, really flexible kind of rusher who's got some length and power to him, who's still just scratching the surface, in my opinion, but has showed some improvement this year. Has been really quiet around both these guys. They both have eligibility left, so I don't know if they're necessarily coming out, but especially if they do stay, that's going to be one of the first matchups to look at whenever we start off summer scouting in a couple months. So I'm excited about this one, and it's going to be fun to watch.
Coming to you, Hunter. What is your matchup of the week?
Yeah, I'm going to go into the ACC here. Wide receiver A.T. Perry versus Clemson corner Andrew Booth Jr. Booth Jr. has had a phenomenal season. And Clemson sucked, but their secondary is phenomenal. So they're definitely not the reason they're losing games. Big physical corner with great ball skills. That just screams first-round pick. And he might even be the first pick off the board for cornerbacks. He's been that good this year for the Tigers. And then going with Perry here, a guy with a bit of a chip on his shoulder. According to 24/7 Sports, was ranked the 1,419th player in the 2018 recruiting class. God, I guess all these schools must have messed up because he's been phenomenal this season. 6'5", 206 pounds, 47 catches for 918 yards, and ACC leading 11 receiving touchdowns as well. This is going to be a primetime matchup, at least for a scouting perspective. 2 big physical players, definitely a matchup to look out for.
Awesome. Did we get yours, Polito? Did we get your matchup?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, everybody. So in my matchup, we got Bryce Young, the Alabama quarterback, the anointed one, the perceived possible first-round pick when it's time for him to become eligible. this is where you make your hay. You know, you're ready to play Arkansas, an upstart team, an upstart good defense as well. And he struggled against some good defenses. But I'm interested to see how he does with this team. And Alabama trying to hold on to that number 2 spot. Like you said, they can lock up, their position as far as running or leading the getting to the SEC championship game and to play Georgia. So we'll see how he does, in closeout games. And I'm looking forward to seeing it. So now that we're in overtime, this is our closing statements. We got anything to say, Hunter, on any of our closing statements for the weekend?
A lot of senior games this week for many people, many teams as well. So shout out to all the seniors out there that did their thing and left a stamp on college football. That's all I'll say.
All right. What about you, Alec?
Yeah, just happy Thanksgiving to everyone out there. I mean, if you watch the Prospect Profits, you'll hear more of us before Thanksgiving. But if you're just a Tailgate Show fan, first I suggest you watch the Prospect Profits and listen in. But happy Thanksgiving to everyone out there. And if you're not from America, then you're not celebrating Thanksgiving, but we're still thankful for you.
Hey, I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Well, let me come to you, Garrett Steve. Look at his face; he's cracking up down there. What do you got to say to close out?
Kind of the same thing I said last week, man. The committee's got to get it together. I don't like their inconsistency, right? If the games matter, Oregon's above Ohio State, fine. That's how it should be. Michigan State should be above Michigan, and they're not. If we're talking about how teams are playing right now instead of when they played each other, then we need to be consistent with that. The committee, you got to get it together, and that's really all I got. I'm excited for college football though, today. We got some good games.
Yes, we do. Now coming to our senior Scott. What's going on, man? Lorenz Lineweaver across the pond.
Well, luckily there's going to be no more controversy in that sense because Michigan State and Oregon are losing today. But outside of that, it's draft season. We've seen Senior Bowl invites coming in. I'm super excited about. I'm pumped. Getting final evals in. I got more and more thoughts. I got thoughts on this class as a whole. We'll get into it more here on the Tailgate Show. We'll get into it more on si.com/NFL/draft. Go subscribe now. Go get all those final reports that we're cranking up, we're cranking out. And, I'm fired up. Can't wait. Draft season, it's here. And have a lot of fun watching these games. But, as they say in the Midwest, it's nut cutting time now. So fired up for it.
Hey, how about it? How about it for Dark Shirt Saturday? Everybody has on a dark shirt today. I love it. Everybody, we're all looking sharp and everything. So, yeah, guys. So, all our viewers and listeners out there, we appreciate you guys. We love you. We can't do it without you. Thank you for tuning in. This is NFL Draft Bible on Sports Illustrated, partnered with Fan Nation. Also, check out some of our other outlets. You can catch us on Twitter, Twitch, and Facebook. And also, Alec, the CF1 is over. They're getting ready for season 2, correct? Go ahead and fill us in on that before we get out of here. And do they have the winner for the Valorant tournament? Who's the winner?
Carleton University took it home. They did not lose a single match all year. So congrats to Carleton and their crew. And they're ready. I heard that they're ready to repeat next year.
Oh, man, that's awesome. But, yeah, that's another outlet that we have that we've been working with, CF1. Check them out, guys. It's amazing. But we got thank you, viewers and listeners, for tuning in, hanging out with us. But we love you guys. We will see you and have a great football Saturday. This has been the NFL Draft Bible.